If you're struggling to get in agency doors or to build relationships at any depth, ask yourself, how well do you know the buyer? How well do you know your buyer and their mission? People don't care, like I said before, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. One way that you can show that you care is to understand where they're headed, their mission, their vision, et cetera, right? I release a post every single morning here on LinkedIn that begins with the 3 words, open agency doors. And that post shares a particular agency's strategic document or strategic plan. And the whole point of my sharing these posts, these strategic documents, is to reduce your research time and to speed up you getting into buyers' doors by helping you understand that buyer more. And so today's training, we're going to go over the value of strategic plans to your business development and to your capture efforts. Then I'm going to share my screen and we're going to deep dive into how I personally review and pull valuable information out of agency strategic documents. Hopefully that's what you're here for. That's what we're going to do. Put open doors in the chat if you want to have more meetings, right? The whole idea of what we're trying to talk about today, understanding strategic documents, is about opening more doors to your federal agency buyers. So put open doors into the chat as we continue along. If you don't know who I am, by the way, my name is Neil McDonald. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I am excited that you're here to join me for the daily LinkedIn Live federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market, and since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret, it's just a process. Before we get started, do me a favor, help buyers remember who you are. Put your company name and your core competency into the chat. Use 2 or 3 words that just help me remember what you do. I was talking with somebody yesterday. Their 2 words might be data security, right? Somebody else I'm talking to goes into elevators. Put words down that make it easy for us to remember who you are. Also, you'll notice in the chat a whole bunch of other people. We have a community here, right? I'm here teaching you and training today, but we're bringing this community to you. And this is a community of like-minded folks. They're in the government contracting space. And so reach out to them. Let them know you're open to connections. Engage with them. Learn more about them. Don't just sell straight in, right? Build relationships, but take advantage of it right here in the chat. And then also offline, out of the community chat, go ahead and have your one-off relationships. One last thing, do me a favor. If you're on YouTube or Facebook and you're watching this on other platforms, come into LinkedIn, connect with me, connect with some of the folks that are in here. Keep watching on the other platforms. That's totally fine. But LinkedIn is really the only place we can come together and just do all this chatting. So anyways, do me a favor. Last thing I want you to do is put in the chat your website, right? Put your company website, www.govconchamber.com, into the chat, so that those of us who want to go do more research on you, we can just click, right? If we're seeing your keywords, your core competency, we can go ahead and click on your website and go follow you. So go ahead and knock that out. All right, so I'm going to go at a fire hose pace. That means I'm going to give you a fire hose worth of information. Maybe you can get little sips out of it. You can watch the replay, but there's a lot that goes into strategic documents. And so I'm going to move really fast through this, but I wanted to begin with just helping you understand where strategic documents fit into the 7-step process. So let me just show this diagram for those of you who haven't seen it, right? The first step of the 7-step process for federal revenue success, how you make money in the federal government, begins with research, seeking to understand that buyer, right? And that's what we're going to be talking about today, is doing your research around the agency through their strategic documents. And so keep that 7-step process in mind as we go forward. In fact, if you're tracking on research is vital to the 7-step process and to your success, put the word research into chat. Let me know you're tracking on that. So there's 3 things I want to show you today in a strategic plan. There's a lot of good information, but there's 3 that I'm going to try to focus on. Strategic goals and objectives, challenges and pain points, and measurements for success. And I'm going to go back in a second and talk about these 3, but I want you to understand that all of these, each of these 3 things lead to making a stronger winning proposal. What I describe as a winning proposal, right? That's what you need to be submitting to the government in order to win more contracts. But how do you make a winning proposal? One of the ways, or 3 of the ways, is to understand an agency's and a customer's strategic goals and objectives, where they're trying to go in the next year or 4 years, right? They lay this out in the strategic plans. The goal is the big picture and the objectives are the smaller picture to get to it. I did a whole training on what are goals and objectives, et cetera. So you go watch that to really understand it better. The second one that helps you with this winning proposal is understanding the government's challenges, their pain points. What are they dealing with today? What were they dealing with last year? What do they see their upcoming challenges? For example, DoD thinks about from an adversarial standpoint with China, as an example, or cybersecurity. We're worried about hacks and impact to our infrastructure that'll impact our ability to do the mission. So what are those challenges and pain points? When you know those challenges and pain points, your solution, your tactical approach, your proposal to the government can tie into how not only will you help with the requirements in the PWS, but you're helping with their strategic goals and objectives. You're helping with these challenges and pain points that you as an agency have. We can help you through our solution. So understanding that. And then the last one, measurements for success. You have these typical type quality measurements in a contract or whatever, but there's bigger measurements for success that I'll talk about that you can find in a strategic plan where the government agency is measuring themselves. How do we measure ourselves over the next year or 4 years, 5 years? How are we going to measure ourselves as an agency moving forward on the mission, moving forward on our one thing, right? Yesterday, I think I did a training that was telling you about determining your one thing. Well, here in these strategic plans, the agency will lay out, hey, here's our one thing, which might be like 5 or 10 things, but it's still, their top priorities. They've got 100,000 people who can help on it, so they can have more than one. But these are the most important things they're moving forward. They have them for the agency. They call these top priority goals. Might be different type of terms for them, or agency priority goals. But there's also measurements of success or measurements of forward progress for objectives and goals. And so we'll talk about that as well. But I want you to track on that, right, is to understand how when you research a strategic document, it not only helps you with business development to understand more about an agency and begin to figure out who you want to reach out to, but it also helps you to with capture as you're trying to shape an opportunity, whether you're shaping the opportunity in your direction of the solution, or you're shaping your solution based on more and more information you learn about an agency's needs around a particular requirement. And then as you move forward doing this stuff, it's going to lead to a strong winning proposal, right? So that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to show you that right here now using existing strategic documents that are out there. Before I go, though, I just want to know what's your strategic, your target agency or department. What agency are you trying to go after? And try to just pick one. I mean, unless you're $10 million or more, don't pick more than one department. I know there's an urge to do it, but if you watched my training yesterday, when you come down, you will get more, right? If you can do more with less, and if you focus tight, you can actually get more. But just tell me one agency, one department even, that you want to go after. And by the way, please don't say DoD. That's too big. Come down one level below that. Okay, let me line my screen up here so I can share it. And I'm going to share, hopefully I'll do this correctly. Okay, I'm pretty sure I did, and I'll watch the screen to see, but I'm going to go in now and show you. First thing I want to show you is I got 4 strategic plans open, 4 different agencies. I've got DHS, I've got Department of Transportation, I've got Department of Housing and Urban Development here, and I've got the Air Force Materiel Command. And so these 4 strategic plans I want to go through. This one actually is not at the department level. It's a command level, but it's still important to look at. So I want to show you that. Okay, I can see that the documents are sharing the way I want. First thing I'm going to do is show you strategic goals and strategic objectives, how I get in, how I find them, and how I might look at them. I don't want to spend a lot of time because we only have like 18 minutes left, 17 minutes left. But the first thing I do on all of these is go to the table of contents, right? So if I come down here to the table of contents, I'm now able to start looking at the goals they have. I can go further down into the document and show you what it looks like, and I will click in a second. But here I can get a quick understanding of counterterrorism and homeland security is their first goal, and it's about collecting intelligence. It's about detecting and disrupting threats. I'm like, okay, is that my spot? Where might I fit on that? The second one, right? Securing the borders. Third one, cyber security and cyberspace and critical infrastructure, right? And then right here, preserve and uphold the nation's prosperity and economic security. That's a different way of looking at these goals. So there's 5 goals I can find right away, and any one of them, I can just click and go down and learn more information. I'm going to pause for 1 second just so I show the goals on each one of these. So this one, they lay it out a little differently, but you can see, let me just zoom in. You can see on the left-hand side, they lay out their goals. They're looking at economic strength and global competitiveness, and then they line up strategic objectives, right? We want to do job creation and fiscal health, high-performing core assets, resilient supply chain. It means a supply chain that doesn't go down. You know what? I play in the logistics and supply chain world. I think I fit there. Let me go look more at that strategic goal. That's what I want to be looking at when I look to a strategic document like this. If I go to HUD, which has a really beautiful cover page, here it's the same thing, right? I can come in here and I can look at their table of contents, great table of contents, and I can't go into it completely. I wish I could spend a few hours with you and just share how much value I get from these 83 pages. But in here, right, this organizational structure, you can see their org chart, how it's laid out. But what I'm really looking for is their strategic goals. And so I can see them here: support the underserved community, ensure access and increase production of affordable housing, right? I was just talking with somebody, a customer who's dealing with data, a lot of data as it relates to, in this case, housing, right? And this ability to get into the rental market, but they would probably need to do a lot in strategic goal number 2 with data. How are you making sure that you're accessing increasing affordable housing, or et cetera? So I would want to dig down into that, but table of contents allows me to just check it out. Today, I'm going to try to stick with data as an example when I go forward, but I'm just going to click on that guy and come right down here to point out one other thing that you can see in goals often is you'll see the goal in a brief description, but here they often tell you who's leading the charge on a goal. And so sometimes it's a subordinate agency. Let's say HHS has a big goal. CDC might be the champion on one of their strategic goals. And so it's important to see that. And as you start going down, say you go with that example, CDC will have its own strategic plan, and they might tell you about which program office is helping them with their strategic goal. So there's a lot you can get out of it. And just coming down to AFMC, it's the same thing. They don't call them strategic goals necessarily. They call them lines of effort, but it's basically the same thing, right? So as you go forward, you can start tracking on them. So just coming back to this idea of a strategic goal and the objective. When you come down, there's a good description. I'm not going to read this to you, but it's this place I want to play in, right? I'm a data company. Let's say I'm a data company for today, and I'm looking at securing the cyberspace and critical infrastructure. I know there's a lot of data in this space that I can help them control, manipulate, and clean up, and then be able to do stuff with, enable decision-making through data. But so I can read this, and this is important, right? It's important for you to think about your target agency, which you told me about earlier. It's important for you to go in, find their strategic plan, and read the plan. It's only 76 pages, but if it leads to $1 million or $10 million, why would we not read it, right? Take the time to read it. And I'm telling you, if you actually read it with any level of enthusiasm when you go in, you will begin to be impressed. It's really interesting stuff to find out what your customer is doing, whether it's the VA and how they take care of veterans, or whether it's DHS and how they protect the country. Each one of these agencies, if you're supporting it, then you should have a level of interest in there, and this should generate it for you. So I'm on goal number 3, though. I'm still coming down. I'm learning a lot about what they say, but I wanted to get down here to the objectives because they begin to talk about what matters to me. And what I'm trying to find when I look at goals and objectives is what are you running into, right? So here's secure the federal civilian networks. What does that objective mean? Can I help in there? And so as I look at it, they're talking about the things they want to get done, right? Here, DHS at the bottom, I can't really get it, but my mouse, DHS prioritizes the assessment, security measures, remediation for systems that could significantly compromise our country, right? Basically. Well, I can see how they're talking to that and go in, and when I'm talking about my solutions and my offerings, I can align that back to objective 1.1 from strategic goal number 1 out of your strategic plan, right? We call this shifting the authority. Instead of me just being this subordinate small business company who wants, hey, thank God you're meeting with me. Instead, I'm shifting it up saying, hey, I really have been doing a deep dive into your strategic plan. I'm looking at what you're trying to accomplish. And I'm thinking we can go here. Well, now the conversation no longer is about how many people work for your company, how many past performances, any of that for a second. It's about the subject matter expertise that you bring. You're starting to have a conversation that they look to you as a trusted advisor. And that's where you're really trying to go. Shift that authority from a almost hat in hand small business to a trusted advisor. When you're able to do that, you're able to control the conversation, which enables you to do better capture as you move forward. Anyways, as you go forward, let me just scoot down, start scrolling. The last thing I want to show you is sometimes they have sub objectives, right? So I have an objective, and then 3.1 has additional ones that are important. And that's why I was looking here at number 3, improve security resilience of DHS's network and sensitive data. I'm a data company, or maybe I'm a data security or cybersecurity company with a data focus. Well, hey, I can come in here and talk to you about data, but is that a problem, right? Is that a problem you're running into? And so you're going to see in a minute, I'll come back and I'll talk about these, but I think I'll just throw it in here so I don't lose track. One of the things I want you to understand is strategic goals and objectives, challenges and pain points, and then KPIs are the way they measure themselves. Well, right here, I have all 3, right? I have a goal that they have or an objective on 3.1.3. There's a challenge or pain point that's implied, right? They want to improve the security, the protection, and the resiliency, the ability to keep it up of their network and of their data. So the implied problem or challenge that they have is maybe their data is not as secure as it needs to be. Maybe their data is not as resilient as it needs to be. And so I want to go in there and begin to pull a thread on that through conversations with them. That is sales. That is business development and capture, right? But then down here at the bottom, desired outcome is a goal that I can be looking at. You want to have a secure federal civilian IT system from cyber threats and intrusion. It's like, okay, that's what you want. Well, funny enough, that's exactly what my company can deliver. We can protect you from cyber threats and intrusions. Let's talk about it, right? And what I'm trying to do when I look at these strategic documents and I learn about their objectives and their pain points is I'm trying to have that conversation with them that'll lead forward. So let me come back to HUD because they had another good one here where strategic goal number 2, right? They're talking about the goal and the objective they have, but here they start explaining the goal of what they're trying to achieve. And then they say this goal consists of 2 objectives. We want to increase the supply of housing and we want to improve rental assistance. If you're in that space, right? If you're doing data where you have the ability, so one part of my company does data security, the other part does data manipulation. Like how do you actually use the data for the benefit of the country or benefit towards your mission? And so here I might say 2B, you know what I can do? I can help improve rental assistance by improving the process, taking the data, beginning to do some machine learning or automation around it and going forward. But all of that I'm getting from reading what they're saying. By the way, a quick side note, I'm talking generally to professional services companies, but this could also tie into companies that are doing elevator support work or construction work or facility services like lawn or bathroom cleaning, et cetera. All of that is necessary for the organization to execute their mission. They can't operate without, working toilets. All of a sudden, the workforce will be unhappy. They can't go forward, right? So everything is equally important. Don't let anybody ever tell you, but all of it has to get done, right? Well, so when you go in to talk about lawn maintenance type contracts or that type of work, you can begin with having the conversations around the bigger picture about, I understand what your organization's trying to do. How do lawns fit in to, why do you need to mow your lawn? Why don't you just let it be a big old messy, weedy mess? What do you care? Well, because it probably improves the workforce happiness or something. I don't know what it is, but if you understand the agency's mission, it doesn't mean you always have to be doing professional services like cybersecurity or something. This could also fit with anything you're selling. Maybe a little less so for product side, but not to knock the product side, just there's less conversations there and more bidding. Okay, so coming back into coming down through, you see strategic objective, right? They lay it out and then they begin to break it down. Remember the goal, it was the secretary who was responsible, but here you can see it's the Office of Housing. So this is a particular office. If I want to increase the supply of housing and I think I can help, I can go in there and talk to them about it. And here they describe the activity. So I've done a whole nother training about goals, objectives, and strategies and how they all begin to fit together in there. So, as you come down, the last thing I wanted to say is you can see their metrics on that sub goal of goal number 2, I think it was. How are they going to measure themselves? Well, right here in this strategic document, you can see what they're talking about, right? Number of rental assistance demonstration to public housing authority, total and affordable units, whatever it is. Well, maybe you don't build houses or do any of these things, but maybe you manage the data. Maybe you can go in and talk about how you can not only look at the data to just see the raw numbers, hey, here's how many affordable housing units were produced, but you might be able to sit there and help them understand that, look, over here, there was more houses produced than over here in this region. And maybe it's because this region is going through a different supply chain path than this one. And maybe this one can learn from this one based on the data. So if you're doing data, or, I was saying data is my example today, by understanding the metrics, when I go in to have conversations, I'm not just saying I do data analytics. Can I get a job or can I get a contract? I'm talking about how my data analytics skills and our company's past performance can help you with metrics that will drive forward this number of affordable and market rate housing units, et cetera, that are out there. So hopefully that made sense. And I just want to go one last one down to the line of efforts as you go forward. If I come down here and I got a tab because they don't link it, but one of the things you want to look for are little things like this that should be held on your wall right here. So as you begin to look at it, guaranteed leaders within AFMC have this on their wall. They're understanding on a daily basis, hey, our mission's this, our vision's this, and then here's what we're trying to do, right? Using words. I was helping a customer just today. We were talking about keywords and how to have the best keywords to not only get found, but to have conversations, right? To use buzzwords. Well, AFMC talks about speed, strength, endurance, balance, flexibility, and coordination. You should be thinking about how can you weave those words in, because the more of those 6 words you weave into your narrative and your just your conversations, the more you feel like they feel like you're aligned to them, and you can get that from these type of documents. But the line of efforts, the reason I like it is just how fast you can begin to understand where you can help your customer. And this goes all the way back to what really the title of today's training is about. I mean, the tagline for today's training is people don't care what you know until they know that you care. What you know is important. You have a solution to their needs and an ability to help them execute their mission better, stronger, faster, right? But they need to know that you actually care enough about them and you understand that their mission is powering the world's greatest air force, right? Developing, delivering, supporting, and sustaining war-winning capabilities. And you understand their mission and that you have looked at their objectives. When you do this, not only will it help you with research, that first step in the 7-step process, but it'll help you with the 3rd step as you do outreach and you're making those initial calls. It'll help you with relationship development and it'll help you with proposal writing. It all comes back to just understanding the strategic plan. Okay, so this is a fire hose of looking at it. I'm not going through any one strategic plan, but remember this whole idea of what you can get out of strategic plans, right? When you go into it, you're really looking to try to find the strategic goals and objectives, understand what the customer does. When you do, that's telling them that you care about them. You want to understand their challenges and pain points, and you can look through documents like the strategic plan or annual reports and see them specifically talking about their pain points, or you can see, like I showed you, implied challenges. We need to improve security. Well, the implication is that your security is not as strong as you want it to be, or you think that your security is strong enough for today's attacks, but not tomorrow's, right? So be talking about that. And the last thing you look for in a strategic document is those metrics, that way of looking at what they're trying to get done, their goals and objectives. How will they measure themselves so that you can align to that? There's so much more I want to show you in here. There's other trainings I've done where I've done deep dives for an hour going through the plan. So if you want to take advantage of that training, go look at it. Feel free to shoot me a question if you have a question about strategic plans. But I want to just do a recap tip for you, right? I already recapped what we talked about, but here's my tip for you as you come out of today's training. Don't go past today before you download your target agencies. Remember in the beginning, I said, what's your target agency, right? Whether it's HUD or DHS or whoever, download their strategic plan today. It's a PDF. It's on their website, right? The stuff I share, it's not like I'm out typing it. I'm sharing the strategic plans from these agencies. Don't wait for me to share it. Go get it yourself for your top agency and make sure you have it, because it'll be really valuable to your efforts. And then make sure you share it internally with your colleagues. Don't let them not benefit from it as well. Proposal writers, technical writers, et cetera. It'll be really helpful for them to understand the customer they're writing to. Hey, if you'd like to work with me or my team, we have a BD Accelerator workshop. We'd love to work with you if your company's the right fit. It tends to be for companies that are $1 million or more already. And if you want to learn more, just send me an email in messaging. If you found today's training, do me a favor, throw thanks into the chat. We always appreciate that. And remember, government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.